The journey begins when Dark Soldier Dariel is summoned by Lord Bashbarza of the four generals belonging to the Demon King's army. Before his superiors, Dariel was informed that he was fired, not only as an assistant to the four generals, but from the army entirely. Bashbarza insulted Dariel with his words, as three of the four generals laughed at him. He deemed him unworthy of the position to begin with. Unlike everyone in the demon army, Dariel could not use magic whatsoever. Dariel was given the position by one of the former generals, Lord Grandbarza. Bashbarza did not care to honor his dad's wishes after he retired from his position. With the decision fully in effect, Dariel takes his leave. The only difference in terms of appearance between normal humans and the demons in this world was the ability to use magic. Dariel was clearly out of place. On his way out, he runs into one of his previous comrades. Ryza jokes about Dariel's inability to use magic as usual. To his surprise, Dariel bid his old comrade farewell and began his journey into the unknown. After several days of wandering, Dariel collapsed on the ground from hunger. Suddenly, a busty woman flies over Dariel. He clocked her white panties first. After the girl was a giant gorilla beast, Dariel stood up and defended the woman from the monster's attack. He was severely weakened from starvation, but gave it his all regardless. He again collapsed as soon as he tried to counterattack. Dariel found a knife among the woman's belongings and used it to fight against the monster. He was unfamiliar with how humans use such weapons. All he could think of was to imitate the stance of a hero his army fought a long time ago. Dariel's attack successfully pierced the gorilla's heart and killed it instantly. The young woman thanked the stranger for rescuing her in a manner befit of a legendary hero. Dariel decided to act as a human and accept her gratitude. He never expected a demon such as himself would save a human. The woman grabbed Dariel and insisted that she come to her village for a proper reward, such as a hearty meal. Dariel could not refuse and let her drag him along. At her house, Malika properly introduced herself to Dariel, along with her parents. Dariel was in the middle of an enemy village, and he tried his best to keep the facade. When asked about his backstory, Dariel said he was fired from the previous job that gave him residence, and as such, he was forced to leave and wander the woods. Malika was touched by his story, holding Dariel's face in her bosom. She offered him stay at their village in a spare room of theirs as a thank you for rescuing her. Dariel was about to refuse when he locked eyes with Malik's voluptuous chest. Dariel became the newest resident of that village. That night, while contemplating the strange situation he was in, Dariel heard a knock on his door. Malika once again whispered her gratitude from the corridor. She was someone others usually depended on. That was the first time a man had protected her. Dariel was still confused about how to feel as someone who spent all 32 years of his life in the demon army. The next day, Malik's dad revealed his occupation as village guild leader. He offered Dariel a job as an adventurer. Dariel was worried his secret would be revealed. The contract adventurers used didn't work on demons. Fearing death at the hands of these humans, Dariel tried to flee. Malika was quick to prick a needle in Dariel's finger and print it on the contract. An adventurer's sigil appeared on Dariel's haddon, officially making him part of the guild. Dariel was in utter disbelief. He found out he was a human all along. Long ago, Lord Grandbarza found Dariel and raised him as his own, training him as best he could, despite being able to manifest magic. The guildmaster began his aura lecture to Dariel. Aura was an inherent ability all humans had to infuse their weapons with, making them much more powerful. There are 4 types of auras: slash for swords, sting for bows and arrows, hit for blunt weaponry, and protect for shields and defense. Dariel started by trying the sword. He immediately felt an aura flow through him. Usually, a human only attains affinity for one aura. To the surprise of Malika and her father, Dariel excelled in all 4 fields. The guildmaster used a giant hammer to vent his frustration over Dariel's immense potential, but even when using a wooden shield, Dariel was able to shatter a giant steel hammer without a scratch on him. The guildmaster offered Dariel admittance to the greatest guild their kingdom had to offer. Someone with this much potential would be wasting his time in a small village such as this. Dariel contemplated his choices but made his decision when tears flowed down Malika's face. Dariel decided to stay in the village that welcomed him with open arms. Malika embraced him with delight. Dariel decided to start his second life right here. The guildmaster introduced the rest of the village to their newest resident. The folks living there were delighted to have a strong and polite man join them. The only person griping about the new adventurer was a young man named Gashida. He was also an adventurer. He mocked Dariel for being an E-rank adventurer. Gashida was D-tier himself. The guildmaster apologized for Gashida's rudeness. He was the only adventurer besides Dariel and felt high and mighty for it. It was time for Dariel to be assigned his first quest. The guild master handed Dariel a pile of plant-gathering quests since Gashida had done all the hunting. There was only one monster hunting quest left that Gashida still couldn't complete. Malika and Dariel recognized the gorilla that the new adventurer killed the other day. Dariel already completed his first quest before he knew it. Confirmation of the gorilla's corpse reached the guild. Gashida got frustrated, giving Dariel mean looks. He snatches the monster quest at the top of the bounty stack, making fun of the herb gathering one Dariel had before rushing out. The guild master grabs Dariel's hand and increases his adventurer rank to D under the aegis of the god of battle. Killing the Edamon gorilla and protecting the village was no small feat. Malika decided to join Dariel on his herb gathering quest. The guild master could feel love in the air, even if it was one-sided for now. As the two made their way through the forest, Malika explained the nature of some of the quests given by the guild. Sometimes they are as simple as odd jobs that the villagers were too lazy to do. While climbing a cliff, Malika revealed that she aspired to be an adventurer in the past. Dariel was more focused on looking at her panties displayed before him. Malika grabbed his hand and took him deep into the forest. There, she taught him about herb collecting along with their different types and effects when used for medicine. While doing so, Malika displayed incredible strength, lifting fallen trees like they weighed nothing. Dariel asked her whether she really needed him to save her from the gorilla. Malika admitted that she could never bring herself to fight and kill. She changed the subject to something more personal. She asked Dariel to drop formality and call her by her name. Dariel struggled to do that and got a bone-crushing hug in return. Dariel broke free when he pointed out a nearby deer Malika previously mentioned she wanted to hunt for dinner. The cute deer's expressions suddenly turned violent and enraged. The deer flew about them and into the nearby bush. Out of the shrubbery, the deer and a giant insect traded fists in the air like in an old Chinese movie. To Dariel's surprise, the deer was stronger than the monster. Dariel and Malika used that chance to take them both out and bring them to the village. The village residents thanked Dariel for his bountiful harvest. To everyone's surprise, the giant ant Dariel brought in was also a bounty, the same one Gashida had taken earlier that day. The archer stormed off, angry with tears in his eyes once again. The following days passed peacefully for Dariel in this rural village. At one point, Dariel runs into Gashida coming out of the guild hall. Every attempt Dariel made to soften things up with Gashida was ignored. He walked in and met Malika, who offered him the choice between a meal, the sauna, or maybe even herself. Dariel ignored her advances and asked her father what had him sighing so loudly. The guild master was troubled by news of a C-tier monster snake called a blaze death scythe that was roaming around the neighboring village. Gashida was here when the urgent mail arrived, and it seemed he left to prove himself on the hunt. When Malika wasn't busy rubbing off on Dariel, she was stern with her father's irresponsible behavior. The monster was out of their jurisdiction. Gashida, sticking his nose in something from beyond their village, would come back to haunt her and her father. Dariel took it on himself to go help his fellow adventurer. He asked Malika to stay back for something that was dangerous and involved fighting. She agrees and gives him meds, including an antivenom she made from the herbs they gathered. Dariel made his way through the forest, looking for any sign of Gashida or the monster the archer was after. He suddenly walked into a large opening created by the snake monster's rampage through the forest. It was evident that this monster was huge and on a completely different level than anything he had faced before. He could feel something terrible afoot. This gut feeling served him well during his time in the Demon King's army. Gashida bursts out from the trees and runs past Dariel, screaming his lungs out. The death scythe followed close behind. The monster was solely focused on Gashida. The boy's arrows failed to pierce the beast and halt its advance. Dariel jumped in and slashed the snake's head. The cut was too shallow and only blinded the beast temporarily. He then blocked the monster's tail whip with his protection aura. The sword Dariel held shattered as a result of the blow. Dariel quickly grabbed the sword shards and cast both the slash and deting auras to throw the shard with incredible might. The shard entered the snake's mouth and exploded out of its back, killing it instantly. Gashida's leg was injured by the monster. Luckily, Dariel had antivenom that Malika prepared after learning that the enemy was a giant python. He also used other herbs to staunch the bleeding. Gashida realized the importance of herb gathering that Dariel had focused on. He began crying his eyes out. The following day, Gashida invited himself to Dariel's peaceful lunch with Malika and her family. Gashida became a fan of his junior and started calling him Big Brother. He expressed his desire to join them on any new adventures. Malika wasn't too happy about the change of heart. She wanted Dariel for herself. Meanwhile, the four generals were having a rough go fighting against the hero. General Zebie was reporting back to Lord Bashbarza after returning injured. She blamed the lack of intel on the hero's new spearman as the source of her failure. The person responsible for recon was the new assistant. Bashbarza fired him immediately. That was the fourth assistant since Dariel. General Dorier spoke out and suggested they hire Dariel back into their fold. Such mistakes never happened when he was around. Dorier was personally fond of Dariel. He was an upstanding figure all around. He cared for all the general's health, which meant a lot to Dorier, who suffered beneath the sunlight. He supported her in secret so as not to let her show weakness. Bashbarza was furious. Fire magic exploded out of him as he refused to even have Dariel's name spoken around him. There was no way Bashbarza would allow him to return. Dariel was settling into his new life in the village. He still hoped the four generals were doing well. Gada's attitude change was pleasant but a bit annoying. The clinginess Dariel suffered from was Malika's love for him. Every day, she greets him home with a hug. It escalated until one day she charged at him with enough force that he passed out. Besides that, life was peaceful. Malika was in the corner crying. She was afraid her love would accidentally get Dariel killed. It grew with each passing day. Dariel reassured her that it was not her fault. Dariel did notice something about the village. He asked the guildmaster why the village had so few residents. The guildmaster told him about the nearby Mithil mine. Long ago, this village was a bustling checkpoint for the nearby Mithil mine, which the entire region around it focused on. The ore was rare and powerful. It was used to create incredible gear. Humans used it for weapons of unparalleled power, while the demons used it for mana storage to beef up their spells. When the demon army took over the mine and fortified their position, the humans in the region began to leave. As a direct result, Malika's village began to slowly die away. The guildmaster had given up hope of their village recovering to its former glory. Dariel figured he had to do something about the situation. He didn't want the place that took him in to die out. The next day, Dariel snuck off to the Mithil mine alone. He sought to use his previous position and negotiate for some Mithil to keep the village afloat for a while longer. He still needed to be careful since he was no longer part of the army and could be perceived as an enemy. He snuck into the mine with extreme ease. The guard force he had stationed here was no longer present. Dariel walked inside and found the knockers, small demi-humans who specialize in crafting and gathering. He had their names memorized, an aspect of his that the knockers loved. They pounced on him in delight to see their favorite administrator returned. Dariel told them about how he was fired. The knockers explained that the new boss around here cut expenses and took all the guard, which left them defenseless. They were also ordered to mine 4 times the amount in a short period of time compared to when Dariel was here. Dariel wanted to help them, but didn't know how. The sound of soldiers grew near. Dariel hid away and listened in. The new assistant showed up with a group of soldiers to gather the Mithil the knockers mined. He complained to them about their poor performance. The knockers complained about the brutal quantity they were asked to mine. The new assistant threatened them with punishment if they underperformed the next time he returned, calling them lesser beings. He flaunted the fact that his orders directly came from Bashbarza. One of the knockers had enough. He jumped up and smashed the assistant on the head. That was ground for execution. One of the soldiers began incanting a spell. Dariel couldn't let his friends perish. He threw something at the soldier and interrupted him. He then showed up before the Demon King's army as a masked hero. The mask smelled bad, and he realized he grabbed a knocker's pair of underwear. The soldiers were confused by this unknown pervert. Dariel offered to spare their lives if they left without a fight. The assistant refused and ordered his soldiers to attack. Dariel didn't want to kill any of the soldiers, so he stole another pair of panties and locked his sword in its sheath. Dariel put up a strong fight, stopping the soldiers from harming anyone. He also remembered that soldiers of the demon army weren't allowed to kill non-combatants. Dariel tried to reason with them, but the assistant was the one calling the shots. He ordered the entire force to cast different spells simultaneously. Dariel had all the incantations memorized. He attacked the soldiers, starting with the shortest incantations, successfully stopping any of them from harming his friends. He reached the new assistant and put him at the mercy of his blade. The young man pleaded for his life. He was just a random person who hit it off as friends with Bashbarza at some fancy party. Dariel was confused as to why Bashbarza would hire a nobody after firing him for being powerless. Dariel swept his sword and shaved the new assistant's hair off the top. He told him to return to his lord and resign. Dariel also told the soldiers not to abandon the honorable ways they were supposed to conduct themselves. After all of that was settled, the knockers swore allegiance to Dariel. Dariel returned to the village and informed the guild master that he reclaimed the mine for the humans. He asked if the knockers could be welcomed in as part of the workforce. Despite them serving the Demon King for so long, the guild master couldn't refuse Dariel's request. News of the Mithil mine's reclamation spread, reinvigorating the region. Before long, the village had returned to its former glory. A large human force took charge of the mine. The knockers worked alongside them as guides. The guildmaster couldn't thank Dariel enough for making a dream he had given up on come true. Malika came to greet her savior with lunch when she tripped. Dariel leapt to grab her while saying her name without formality. Malika was so overjoyed that she once again blasted Dariel into the ground with a hug. She was about to confess her love when she noticed he was out cold. Zebie walked into Bashbarza's office with news. She was distracted by the giant orb floating at the center. Bashbarza volunteered the information about his latest creation. The orb used Mithil to concentrate magic. The concentration levels reached thousands of times the power of the spell's standard form. Bashbarza had basically created a magic nuke. Zebie asked him how he procured all the Mithil for this project of his. He told her he had the knockers produce 4 times the usual rate. The knockers also loved Dariel, so punishing them with this task brought him a lot of joy. Zebie smirked as she told the general that the humans took full control of the mines. Their Mithil supply was cut dry. Not only that, but the Demon King had found out and ordered Bashbarza to attend a private meeting to discuss the situation and reprimand him. The Demon King looked like a boy, but wielded incredible magical power. He insulted Bashbarza and called him stupid. He previously told Bashbarza to stop working on that bomb. He ordered that some Mithil be kept aside from accessories to put on women attending his parties. Bashbarza had used that portion for the bomb, expecting the next payment from the mine to reimburse the Demon King. The Demon King admitted that it was never about accessories. It was a polite way to tell his commander to quit with his Mithil experiments. He ordered Bashbarza to apologize. The general was narcissistic. He loved and put himself above everyone else. The apology, as well as being called stupid, affected him deeply. To top it off, the king told him to learn from the assistant his father hired. The Demon King knew Dariel and recognized his skills at keeping the army in tip-top shape. He dismissed Bashbarza, telling him to go learn from Dariel how to use his brain. It was clear that Dariel unintentionally affected Bashbarza's relationship with his father. Bashbarza left the meeting with boiling fury. Lux village was bustling and booming with life. Dariel and Malika sat on a bench, enjoying the sight before them. Malika was expressing her joy and hinting at marriage with the love of her life. Dariel was confused as to why she was saying all that while looking at him. Gashida's yelling was heard among the crowd in the town center. Dariel decided to check that out while Malika was talking about having children with a certain someone. Gashida was picking a fight with adventurers who had come from Campbelltown. Their leader, Fitbiton, a B-rank adventurer, introduced himself to Lux Village's only 2 adventurers. When Dariel revealed his rank, Fit's attitude quickly turned to insults. He described their recapture of the mines as pure luck. Dariel didn't want to get too much attention on himself, so he brushed it aside. He did, however, point out that Campbelltown was responsible for messing up the Death Scythe hunt. He told them to show some respect for Gashida's name for tracking it down after it came into their village's territory. Gashida showed off that Dariel was the lone warrior who slayed the giant snake. Everyone present was shocked. That meant Dariel was an A-tier adventurer. They started tossing him up into the air and celebrating his achievement. Fit was furious, since it was his party that messed up the Death Scythe hunt. Dariel attended the grand feast held in their village that night. Malika was ready to kill Fit the same way she slew that deer when she heard how he insulted her husband, as she called him. She got flustered and ran away after saying that. Dariel didn't help when he called Malika's dad father by accident. They were already celebrating the union. Gashida's drunk ass said he was the one who would marry Dariel. The Center Guild sent a diplomat named Best Fred to negotiate with the Knockers. The guild valued their services and wished to be on the best terms with them. Fred sought out Dariel to help be an intermediary since the Knockers were wary of everyone else. Dariel hid their past relations. He told Fred they liked him since he was the one who freed them from the terrible conditions they worked in under the Demon King. Dariel went to the mine and only had to say it once for the Knockers to give Fred their full cooperation. After leaving the mine, Dariel ran into Fit and his team. They were standing as guards over the mine. The conversation was interrupted when Dariel spotted voice-magnifying magic nearby. He followed the source and found a group belonging to the Demon King's army. Dariel found out that he could greatly boost his speed by enveloping himself in aura. The soldiers ran away under their leader's orders. Dariel walked up and found Rizet at the center of it. Rizet gave his old friend a warm hug. The two take a moment to catch up on the situation at hand. The demon army was suffering greatly after Dariel left. At the center off, all the chaos they had to deal with was Bash. The Demon King sent Rizet personally to try to fix their relations with the Knockers after what had happened. Rizet told Dariel to come back with him. He also told him that Dore personally vouched for his return. Dariel revealed that he was unknowingly a human this whole time. There was no place for him in the Demon King's army anymore. Not only that, but he also felt indebted to the humans who took him in at Lux Village. Rosette promised to keep Dariel's secret safe if he returned, but Dariel still refused. Rosette tried to take Dariel by force, but Dariel proved too strong to capture. Dariel instead offered Rosette to trade some Mithil. Dariel took Rosette to meet Fred. He proposed Mithil trade relations with the Demon King's army at 4 times the market rate. The Demon army needed the Mithil, which meant that keeping all of it to themselves was going to lead to war. A trade agreement would benefit both parties and prevent bloodshed. Fred was still trying to process the fact that he was negotiating a trade agreement with their enemies. Fit was present in the meeting room to keep Fred safe. Frit took it upon himself to interrupt the negotiations and attack Rosette. Dariel stopped his attack. He insisted that this be solved without blood being spilt. Fred had given the idea a thought and told Frit to cease his insolence. That made Frit angry. Fred decided to accept Dariel and Rosette's trade agreement. Rosette thanked Dariel for helping him solve this issue amicably. He also got the chance to apologize to the Knockers. Dariel expressed his gratitude to the Demon Army and his previous lord for taking him in. He wanted his old home and new home to coexist peacefully. Dariel's assignment was the restoration of the old Mithil smithy in Lux Village. He found the old smithy building already up and running. Frit walked out of the building and informed him that Campbelltown will take charge of the smithy moving forward. After having resolved any future troubles with the demons at the mine, Dariel basically lost Campbell's adventurers their jobs as guards there. Malika ran up and embraced Dariel. She asked him for help. Some old pervert had fondled her breasts. Dariel had never been this deathly serious about anything. He took Malika to confront the offender. He found an all-man on the ground, bruised and covered in tomatoes. He tried to teach him some manners, but the old man was more focused on the pathetic sword Dariel was using. Malika bit back at the old man and told him what her hero had fought and defeated thus far with his sword. The geezer was stunned. He grabbed Dariel's hands and inspected his aura. That's when he found out just how powerful Dariel actually was. The old man introduced himself as Smith, a renowned Mithil smith who came to the village to follow his dream. He brought an apprentice and his tools with him. Smith demanded that he be taken to the village's smithy. Dariel told him that Campbelltown had taken over it. Smith decided to use his expert negotiating skills to solve the matter. Smith grabbed onto Frit and begged him to let them go inside, acting drunk on the verge of vomiting. Frit allowed him to use a far corner inside the forge. Smith laughed at how the rest of the smiths working there struggled to handle the complex ore. He showed Dariel how talented he was, molding the ore to his every whim. He crafted a broad Mithil sword and gave it to Dariel for testing. The sword absorbed his aura with incredible efficiency. One swift slash cut down a massive tree like it was nothing. Dariel was extremely impressed by his craftsmanship. Frit came running. He apologized to Smith and begged him to join Campbell's smithing team. He didn't know who the legendary Smith was until a while ago. Smith smacked his ass and refused the offer after Frit acted high and mighty to him earlier. Dariel had once again accidentally made things worse with Frit. Smith took back the sword and told Dariel he'd make the real deal soon enough. His apprentice also finished setting up their own smithy. Dariel recognized an ethanol furnace among the equipment. Demons used it since magic was necessary to activate it. Smith hoped to create his dream weapon using that furnace. Dariel called Rizet over and asked him to activate the furnace for them. He agreed to do it only once. Smith was beyond delighted. He promised Dariel a legendary weapon made especially to cater for his expertise in all aura fields. Later that day, Frit took Dariel to the side. Frit asked him if they could join forces to kick the Center Guild out of Lux Village. The Center Guild was monopolizing the Mithil, Lux Village, which should have complete ownership after recapturing the mine. Frit's condition was that they take ownership and give Lux Village better offers. Dariel refused. Frit had been nothing but cruel to him and his friends since they came here. He'd rather stay with Center Guild and Fred, who were honorable. Frit threw his glove at Dariel, issuing a one-on-one duel for the ownership of the mine. Dariel unknowingly accepted. When his friends found out, they decided not to risk Dariel's life for material gain. Dariel decided that he would take on the challenge regardless of the threats. The prosperity of both the Knockers and Lux Village was in jeopardy after all. Later that night, Malika gave Dariel tea during his training. They took a moment to talk about what was coming. Dariel made his resolve to fight for them clear. Malika cheered him on, barely able to compose herself out of concern for his safety. The time for the duel was upon them. Frit showed up with a new Mithil dagger and shield. Dariel pulled out a dagger Smith had especially crafted for him. Frit laughed at the toothpick his opponent had. Dariel focused all of his aura into his weapon and stood ready. When the battle started, some of Frit's armor shattered before he could see the attack. Dariel gave him the chance to surrender. Frit charged in anger. Dariel's weapon transformed to fit the aura he was using at the time. The blade extended, cutting through and destroying Frit's dagger and shield. Frit pulled out a mithril greatsword. He intended to kill Dariel with his next attack. Dariel pulled all his aura into his weapon and transformed it into a whip that smashed Frit's weapon and sent him flying through a nearby house roof. Dariel almost passed out in exhaustion, but Malika caught him. He held her hand in gratitude for her support. Fred gathered both parties and issued Dariel a formal apology. He promised that Frit and Campbell villages would be punished for their actions. Dariel asked if their punishment was to simply fix the house's damage from their fight. He expressed his desire to smooth things over, since both parties were looking after their own from the start. This sentiment moved Frit. Fred was relieved by Dariel's benevolence. He considered him a valuable asset. Fred offered Dariel the opportunity to join him at Center Guild, the most prestigious position he could attain as an adventurer. Malika was present when the offer was made. It was an opportunity for Dariel to learn so much about the human world and maybe even find his real parents. Dariel decided to contemplate his decision in the sauna while everyone else was absent. To his surprise, Dariel opens his eyes and finds Malika sitting next to him. Dariel was lost in thought, so he tried to push away without looking. If the past had taught him anything, it was that Malika was going to kill him now. To his surprise, Malika overlooks that and congratulates him on his future with the Center Guild. She expressed her feeling of gratitude to Dariel. Everything about her life and those around her improved greatly since he appeared. He was also the first man to ever have her feel the things she did. Dariel knew Malika hid her worry and sorrow behind a smile. He reassured her that he was not going to leave Lux village or her. She welcomed him into her village with open arms during his lowest moment. He loved life here. Malika was overjoyed. That night, Bash was invited to his father's residence. Gran Burza was training, rehabilitating his body after suffering a major wound at the hands of the hero. Gran Barza asked his son how things were for him and the new 4 generals, especially focused on his dear Dariel. Gran Barza made it clear that the succession to his son and the new generals was only possible because of Dariel's presence. The assistant's presence was the glue that kept their army intact. Bash kept lying about how he valued Dariel and treated him right, keeping him close for advice. Gran Barza flipped the table and punched his son through the wall. He had lots of nobles appeal to him to have their children rehired as assistants for the generals. Gran Barza questioned his son's foolish actions and demanded that he undo them by bringing Dariel back. Bash refused and stormed off. He did not wish to have Dariel anywhere near him. Gran Barza regretted not being able to have his son and precious former assistant work together. The next morning, Malika's mother came to wake her daughter up. She was pleasantly surprised when she opened the door. A while later, Malika and Dariel walked downstairs to join the parents for breakfast. Dariel stumbled and fell down the stairs. His life force was heavily drained. Malika's father thought it was the effect of the sauna, oblivious to what had happened. Malika's mother secretly congratulated them. The whole day, Dariel worried that her dad would find out and seek revenge. When the mayor called Dariel for a meeting, he thought the secret was out. Malika's father instead offered Dariel his role as mayor. Dariel had done so much for the village. No one was more worthy of the role. Dariel was hesitant at first, but he agreed on one condition. He asked Malika's dad if he could have his daughter's hand in marriage. Her dad agreed. Dariel then asked Malika personally. She embraced him. The force of her hug sent him flying out the door. Dariel used aura to stop his spine from snapping in half. Malika told Dariel that they were now a family, all 3 of them. A peaceful year passed, and Lux village had grown bigger and prospered thanks to the mithril trade. Smith had passed away during that time. Dariel went home from visiting the old man's grave. There he was greeted by his beautiful wife and adorable son, Gran. Dariel took inspiration for his name from the general who took him in during his time at the demon army. The boy looked a lot like his mother. Gashida came running with news of the hero's arrival at Lux village. It was a welcome surprise to all but Dariel. He worried the hero came to slay him as a former member of the demon army. To Dariel, the hero was a cruel and relentless murderer of demon folk. Dariel went out to greet the hero as the mayor of the village. He hid his face with a cloth and kept his weapon close at hand in case push comes to shove. The hero's carriage pulled up, and a young blonde woman came out. Lady formally introduced herself with politeness worthy of a hero. She apologized for her sudden visit and thanked the mayor for his hospitality. She was accompanied by a spearman named Sesha and a tank named Satome. Dariel welcomed them in but couldn't help his surprise. The hero he knew was a bearded old man, not this young woman. Lady told him that the previous hero retired after suffering a mortal wound during his last fight with the 4 generals. She thought Dariel was superficial, misunderstanding his confusion, thinking he was underestimating her. She came to the village seeking custom-made mithril weapons. While talking to her companions, Dariel notices that Lady has notes on her hands. The notes detailed how she should act as a hero. The hero was using cheat sheets to help herself. Dariel welcomed the hero and her party to his home. Gran was sobbing in Malika's arms. She handed Gran to Dariel while she set things up for the guests. Gran stopped crying when he locked eyes with Lady's chest. Lady also desired to hold the baby. Dariel handed her the baby. Surely enough, Gran was his father's son. Dariel, Sesha, and Sadame went to wake Lady up. She was a heavy sleeper, but she'd snap right into the hero act when strangers were around. Lady asked Dariel to take her to the Mithil smithy. Dariel introduced the hero and her companions to the only forge in the world that can process Mithil. Putting their aura into these powerful weapons felt euphoric compared to what they had been using so far. Dariel summoned the new smith master, Smith's apprentice, Sakai. Sakai rushed over to Sesha and kissed his hand, thinking he was the hero. The late master pounded all 48 forms of treating ladies right into Sakai. Sakai turned his attention to the actual hero and started fondling her hands, the same technique Smith used to assess aura. Before Lady snapped, Sakai found out her aura was /focused and ordered his workers to begin preparations. With that out of the way, Lady revealed the second reason she came here. She was looking for a fourth party member. Gashida had just walked in and heard everything. He volunteered to join, but instead, the previous mayor decided to make it a challenge for every adventurer present to participate in. The hero's party grabbed wooden weapons and faced everyone in open combat. The person with the most promise would be considered for the position. All the adventurers charged in and got blown away with relative ease. One arrow flew past Lady's face as she dodged it. The source was Gashida, hidden in the nearby trees. Lady charged at him, dodging the volley of arrows. Gashida used his aura to have the fallen arrows pincer attack Lady from all sides. In response to his surprising level of skill, Lady instinctively prepared to fire off a powerful attack at Gashida. Dariel was watching the fight from the sidelines and noticed what was happening. He hurled an apple at Lady. It threw her off balance and interrupted her attack. Gashida came running to Dariel, crying from his failure. Lady noticed Dariel's potential and challenged him to a duel. When Dariel refused, she attacked, forcing him to fight back. Dariel used his weapon to block and deflect her attacks, fleeing her powerful flurry of slashes. Lady decided to unleash her most powerful attack, a Sky Ren slash. Dariel knew this move. He neutralized it with a powerful attack of his own. Lady was positively shocked by what happened. She asked Dariel to join her party in their battle against the Demon King. Dariel had a million reasons to decline. To everyone's surprise, he refused the grand honor and hurried back home. Dariel couldn't get his son to drink from the milk bottle. His son still preferred breasts as his source of milk. Lady and her party once again asked Dariel to join their party. Dariel refused. All he wanted in life was to help out his village and watch his son grow every day. Lady and her party let it go for the night. Malika silently watched this unfold. Dariel thought back to his days in the army, specifically, a tea break with Doroi. Life was peaceful then as well. His general was also prioritizing the safety and peace of her people. He couldn't think of joining the hero's army against the Demon King and ruining the peace for the people he grew up with. The next day, as Dariel went out to do the daily rounds, Lady and Sadam followed secretly behind him. Dariel tended to mundane daily things around the village. He gave Sakai pep talks when he felt depressed, helped his father-in-law clean the guild's floor, repaired fences around the villages, and all sorts of very normal things. The day ended when he met his wife and son and accompanied them back home. Lady and Sadam began to understand that to Dariel, his daily life as a simple mayor was just as important as the quest to defeat the Demon King was for them. Lady summoned Dariel for a private meeting that night. She again tried to sway his opinion. She asked him how he negated her Skyrend. She explained that the previous hero, Awakens, possessed a version of Skyrend so powerful that it was dubbed the Fearsome Emperor's Skyrend. During their fight, she saw Dariel use the same skill to neutralize her attack. Dariel thought that the ability was average since he saw the previous hero throw it out constantly. He deflected her question, summing it all up to random luck. Lady refused to accept that. She insisted he use his skills to help them on their quest. Dariel made it clear that the demon army was only defending against the humans. If the previous hero hadn't moved against them, there would have been peace between the two races. Lady scoffed and told him why the hero fought against the demon hordes. Awakens told Lady about how his wife and son were killed at the hands of a demon general called Bezitan. Awakens killed Bezitan in revenge, yet he couldn't find his son's corpse no matter where he searched. He swore to never let such a fate befall other humans. That was the reason he fought against the demon army relentlessly. Dariel insisted peace between them was possible, citing his peaceful trading agreement with Rizet. Lady couldn't get through and decided to try for something else. She asked Dariel if he could become her teacher. Dariel contemplated the offer. Being on good terms with the hero might help him broker peace with the demons moving forward. Dariel agreed to become Lady's teacher. Meanwhile, Dorie was still searching for leads as to where Dariel had gone. Bash suddenly disappeared, and Zebie was also nowhere to be found. Back at Lux Village, Dariel welcomed Rizet into his home after another successful trade. In the nearby trees, Zebie appeared out of thin air. She had stumbled around on something very interesting. Rizet was having his fill of fun playing with little Gran. The heroes' party were out of town buying pajamas during this meeting. Dariel noticed a new medal adorning Rizet. He was anointed as a special envoy after successfully attaining Mithil. This was a new position the demon thought up after Dariel was fired. He had almost as much authority as the 4 generals since they weren't doing too great. Zebie used wind magic to cloak herself. She suddenly appeared before the 2 men. She punished Rizet by forcing him to be her chair. Rizet not only made rude remarks about the generals, but also kept Dariel's secret to himself, fully aware that Dorie was searching for him. Zebie also made fun of how easy it was to forget Dariel's dull and unimpressive face. Malika heard this remark and almost blew the general's head off with a wine bottle cork. Zebie behaved herself and sat down at the table normally with Dariel and Rizet. Zebie stalked Rizet towards the source of the Mithil. He had kept the source of the ore secret. Zebie wanted a Mithil weapon for herself that boosts magic. She demanded that Dariel give her all their Mithil. Dariel refused. Good faith between him and Rizet was the reason the trade agreement was possible. He wasn't going to just hand it over. Zebie got angry at Dariel. Malika once again put the fear of God in the general, making sure not to overstep her welcome. They decided to talk elsewhere. Zebie led Dariel and Rizet to the woods. There she attacked Dariel, intent on forcing him to agree. Dariel pulled out his weapon and defeated her with ease, time and time again. Each instance, she'd say she was going easy, only to try and be defeated once more. Zebie had had enough and decided to use her wind magic to summon a powerful tornado. She wanted to destroy everything Dariel held dear after such embarrassment. Dariel used his enhanced sky wren to eat up the tornado and nullify it. The shockwave knocked Zebie out of the sky. Dariel jumped up to try to catch her, but barely held onto her clothes. Rizet used his water magic to soothe their landing. Zebie started crying, threatening to tell Malika what happened. Dariel immediately cooks up a trade agreement for some Mithil to cool things down. Zebie agrees and shakes his hand. She asked for a magic weapon that was similar to Dariel's. Dariel took her to the forge and introduced Zebie to Sakai. He remembered that the hero's party was soon to return. Dariel tells Sakai to stall as much as he can with Zebie and says farewell to Rizet, who went back home. He rushed over to the hero's party to prevent them from encountering the demon general. He activated his good looks and sent each one on his way to do something and keep them busy. Meanwhile, Sakai did well to empty the general's pockets in exchange for various items. Lady was tasked with arduous training. When she finished, she asked Dariel if she could wash off. Lady entered the sauna after cleaning up, only to find one of the generals resting inside. Dariel heard the commotion and burst into the room. While trying to separate the mortal enemies, a double slap sent him out flying. Sitting down for dinner together after that was akin to a public execution. Malika held off her rage for now. Lady insisted that he explain the situation. Dariel decided it was time to fess up to everyone. Malika learned about Dariel's life the day he proposed. Everyone was surprised but took on the news with an open heart. Still, Lady couldn't accept the company of a demon general. Zebie was more concerned about Malika's delicious food. When tensions rose, Malika personally scared everyone in shape. She proposed they fight it out the next day and settle the matter instead of the constant bickering. Zebie and Lady agreed. Dariel made them promise not kill each other. Both sides were precious to him. Malika helped persuade them both to agree to his terms. After challenging each other to every single thing following that conversation, from showering to eating, Zebie and Lady went to bed. In the middle of the night, they both had the same idea. The next day, Dariel and his friends went to where the 2 ladies were going to fight it out. There, he finds them holding Sakai captive. The poor blacksmith was forced to stay up all night making their weapons before the duel. Dariel grabs the sobbing mess and lets the 2 ladies start their fight. He watched on as they fought on equal terms. Malika brought snacks for everyone to enjoy while watching. The clash caused violent blasts around them. Saddam used a barrier ability to protect the spectators. When the thrashing became too violent, Dariel copied Satom's barrier and helped out. Zebie and Lady pulled out their strongest abilities. Gran woke up from the noise and saw the opie of both fighters bouncing. The fight caused the nearby cliff to shatter and fall towards the toddler. Dariel jumped in and grabbed him. Lady rushed to protect them, but was surprised when Zebie handled it first. Both women realized there was no bloodlust behind their attacks. The whole thing felt like a bonding experience. After fighting it out, Zebie and Lady became friends. Dariel was pleased to find the bridge he wanted between both races slowly forming. A future where they coexisted was within reach. Session knocks on Dariel's door. He had an incredible guest he wanted to show the mayor. The guest was none other than the previous hero, Mithil. Dariel knew the hero as a cruel and merciless killer of demons. To make things worse, Zebie was still a guest at his house. He told her to stay away from Alan and not use magic. Alan could sense magic and would immediately kill her. Zebie wasn't too cautious of the harmless-looking old man. Alan was covered with burn scars after facing Grand Barza. Zebie realized how powerful he must be to have survived a fight against their strongest general. The conversation was interrupted when everyone and their mother in the village came to greet the hero. Alan loved kids and greeted his fans with open arms. His attitude was the polar opposite of what Dariel was expecting. After all that was settled, Dariel sat down with Alan and introduced himself as the mayor. Alan was passing through Luck's village looking for Lady. Since she hadn't defeated the Demon King yet, he proposed to train her. His wounds were all healed up. Lady and Alan's training was watched by everyone. Alan toyed with Lady, dodging her every attack while signing autographs for children. He then grabbed the sword with 2 fingers and slammed her into the ground. Despite that, Alan praised the current hero for her progress since the last time they trained. Lady thanked Dariel for that. Alan issued a duel to Dariel. He knew he was comfortable and desired to hide his true power. Dariel tried to politely decline. All the spectators agreed that Dariel was strong but couldn't stand against the previous hero. Gashida was the only one who refused to believe that. With his #1 fan on the verge of tears, Dariel hops into the ring to face the legendary warrior. Alan's powerful aura terrified Dariel. He was already consumed by his presence before the fight began. Dariel used their hungry stomach as a way to delay the fight. The old and current hero sat down with Dariel and Gashida to enjoy the delicious packed lunch Malika had prepared for them. Alan was beyond delighted to eat specially packed food for the first time in decades. From afar, Zebie used a scope to spy on Alan. She couldn't see anything special about him. Dariel told her to go as far as possible before using her magic to return home. She was ready to start her journey when some laundry flew off its line. She used wind magic to catch it. Alan suddenly stood up and grabbed a stick. He threw with incredible force towards Zebie's location. The stick impaled Zebie's clothes and pinned her to the wall. Alan realized that she was actually a demon and moved in for a death blow. Zebie was helpless. Dariel jumped in and blocked Alan's attack. He wished to prevent all bloodshed in his village. Alan refused to accept that as an excuse and decided to use brute force to push Dariel aside. Alan's strikes were powerful. Sky wrens came out of him effortlessly. Dariel flew off the balcony they were on and used his weapon as a whip to bring Zebie with him. Even a piece of wood was enough for Alan to break through a stone wall that Dariel used to defend him and his friend. Alan realized that this man also had all 4 aura attributes, just like himself. He extended Dariel an offer to become the new hero and fight alongside him to uproot the entire demon race together. Dariel refused. Alan readied up a full-power fearsome Emperor's Sky Wren infused with Sting aura aimed directly at Zebie. It wasn't going to miss. Dariel stood his ground in front of her. Alan fired off his attack, and Dariel countered with one of his own. Alan's attack was more powerful, piercing through and hitting Dariel. Gashida stood helpless while Lady tried to talk some sense into Alan. Alan ignored her and moved forward to finish off his prey. Zebie and Gashida held onto Dariel, who was all torn up and battered. Alan asked him if he would go to such incomprehensible length for a demon. Dariel didn't care about race, he wanted peace. It wasn't some noble desire. It was a selfish wish to protect those he cared for. He recalled the story that had Alan acting this way. Dariel couldn't bear the pain of imagining his wife and child dying. He was sure he'd feel the same pain if Zebie were to also die. Zebie was in tears. The entire time, she was cowering defenseless behind Dariel. When Alan asked him why he loved demons so, Dariel revealed the truth. Previously, at the Demon King's castle, Grand Barza had a private audience with the king. The Demon King had taken the form of a great and fearsome dragon. His shape shifted based on how powerful the person who perceived him was. That meant Grand Barza was still very powerful. The previous general asked to have his son fired from his current position. For the past year, Bash abandoned his duties as general, leaving Dorier with all the responsibility given by their positions. Grand Barza said his request was for the demon army's sake. The Demon King questions that detail. Such a thing would reflect negatively on all of Bash's future prospects. He wondered if this was Grand Barza's way of punishing his son for firing his most precious assistant, Dariel. Grand Barza recalled the day Bezitan pointed him east towards something he deemed could be a secret weapon against the hero. He wandered into the eastern forest and found a baby hidden behind an illusory wall. Grand Barza took the baby in and named him Dariel after an angel. Grand Barza admitted that he loved both boys equally as his sons. The Demon King pointed the general towards Lux village, where Dariel had settled in nicely. He wasn't so sure he'd be able to get his so-called son back so easily. He heard Dariel had all 4 aura attributes like Alan. Grand Barza was shocked. He started to connect the dots. Dariel told Alan that he was found 33 years ago by Bezitan and then raised by Grand Barza. His life there was why he cared so deeply for the demons. Alan realized something very important. The timing and figures involved weren't a coincidence. Alan walked up to Dariel and hugged him. Alan told Dariel that he was his son. Everyone present was shocked beyond words. Dariel and Alan connected the details of their stories, which, along with the 4 aura attributes being inherited from parent to child, confirmed it. Alan suddenly turned and fired off a skyrend into the nearby cliff. Grand Barza blocked it with a barrier of blazing heat. Grand Barza flew down to greet the man he would call son. The 2 mortal enemies, Alan and Grand Barza, stood face to face on the verge of clashing. Dariel jumped in between them and tried to reason with Alan. He was still confused about finding out he's his son, and asked to give Grand Barza a chance to speak. Grand Barza also admitted that he found out this truth a short while ago. During Dariel's childhood, Grand Barza suspected the child was human when he reached 5 years old without manifesting any magic. Even still, he couldn't let him go. He loved the little boy as his own. Dariel returned the sentiment. Even though he grew up without parents, he never felt lonely thanks to Grand Barza watching over him. Grand Barza admitted that he became this strong so that Dariel would always respect him. The human and demon general hug it out. Alan was furious. His chance to watch his son grow was stolen from him. The strength he gained stemmed from hatred and anger toward those who took away what was most precious to him. Grand Barza understood the pain he let Alan feel. He asked the former hero to let out all of his anguish caused by the wrongdoings of Bezitan against him. Grand Barza told Dariel that it wasn't too late to be with his real father after he put his life down here. Alan and Grand Barza were about to clash when a bucket of water was tossed onto them both. Malika told them to wrap it up. The past can't be changed. She asked them if they'd be okay killing each other in front of their grandson. Alan and Gran were stunned to learn that Gran was Dariel and Malika's baby boy. Dariel used this chance to reason with both his fathers. He told Grand Barza to live if he truly wanted to make him happy. Dariel told Alan that they couldn't make up for lost time as father and son. Instead, he could be there to watch over his grandson. Tears welled up in Alan's eyes as he held baby Gran, a child who looked so much like his son before he lost him. Dariel expressed his gratitude to Malika. He was glad she was the woman he married. Malika almost folded him like a lawn chair from her powerful and passionate hug. At the demon's castle, Bash walked into an empty ballroom. He thought all the guests attending his crowning as the strongest of the 4 generals were late. An old man told him that the celebration was cancelled. None of the guests accepted the invite. And on top of that, his father asked the Demon King to fire him from his position. He added that Dariel could have prevented all of this from happening. He couldn't even get alcohol to wash away his sorrows since Dariel wasn't there to handle all their bills. Bash exploded with fury, destroying the ballroom. He decided it was time to eradicate Dariel once and for all. The book he held glowed with magic as mysterious markings appeared beneath his left eye. Grand Barza and Alan were having the time of their life playing with Gran. Malika was busy tending to her husband's wounds. Alan was telling Grand Barza to stop hogging his grandson. Grand Barza jokingly said to stop yelling his name since the baby would think he was being called for. Alan held his anger and suggested they rename the child to Alana Barza. That idea was shut down. Gran started crying from the 2 grandpas bickering over him. Luckily, Rizit called Dariel on a magic phone. Gran took over and started muttering his complaints to Rizit. Grand Barza and Alan took the phone and interrogated the stranger who had so much favor with their beloved grandson. Rizit was already halfway in his grave when he found out who he was talking to. Dinner was ready. Malika's dad was seated with the 2 old men. He felt extremely out of place. Dariel rushed alcohol to their table to keep them entertained. That was when he found out his father-in-law had a name. It was Envil. Envil was immediately knocked out by all the alcohol they drank. Grand Barza started sharing stories of Dariel's childhood with everyone. Alan felt upset at first, but he realized that, at the very least, his son was raised in good hands. Alan thanked Grand Barza for raising Dariel into such a splendid man that they both could be proud of. The 2 old enemies shook hands and buried the hatchet. Dariel was delighted by this turn of events. Later that night, Malika finished tending her husband's injuries and left him some jello while she cleaned up. Dario could barely hold his shaky arms up. Zebie walked in and used her wind magic to help him out. She expressed her surprise when Dario confessed his love for her. She was referring to when Dario protected her from Alan, stating that her death would be as painful as his wife or child dying. Zebie enjoyed teasing him, saying she would think about whether she reciprocated the feelings or not. The following day, Lady asked Alan if he could continue her training. Dario wondered whether defeating the Demon King was really necessary. Alan spoke plainly about what drove the hero's quest since it first started. The Demon King was the wisest and most powerful being known to all. It was said that he gave the demon race magical abilities. Humans deemed him the source of all misfortune in the world for their own selfish reasons. They believed that if they could slay the Demon King, humans would inherit his power and transcend into more powerful beings themselves. Knowing this truth, Lady decided to continue her training and one day find out for herself if she wanted to go through with the hero's quest or not. Their peaceful conversation was cut short when Gashina barged in. Frit was injured. He informed everyone that the Mithil mines were under attack. They all rushed to the mines using Zebie's wind magic to fly. Above the mine flew a fire dragon, spewing its flames on everything. Dario and his companions were forced to land outside the fire's range. The knockers were the only ones still trapped within the mines. Dario rushed in to try to save his friends. Alan joins his son on the knockers' rescue mission. Lady and her two companions faced the giant beast, Salamandra. Their attacks were not strong enough to bring down the beast. Grand Barza lent a helping hand and absorbed the dragon's fire to save the hero and her friends. The knockers were safe but trapped behind fallen debris. Alan and Dario turn their attention to the battle at hand and decide to chime in. Father and son both fire their fearsome Emperor's Sky Rend. The joint attack brings the Salamandra down to the ground. Dario stood before the mighty beast and stretched out a welcoming hand. The Salamandra sniffed Dario's hand before peacefully turning around and flying away. Lady sensed a faint feeling of anger in the beast's magic. Dario perceived something else entirely. A feeling of nostalgia washed over him. Grand Barza suspected something was wrong after the beast appeared. He excused himself and returned to the demon army castle with the help of Zebie. The knockers were safe and free from the mine except for one human worker. Dario volunteered to go look with some knockers, while Alan and his friends stayed out to help with the relief effort. Grand Barza and Rizet reached the castle and went directly to Bash. Grand Barza saw the mark on his son and knew the faint magic he felt around the Salamandra belonged to him. Bash had entered a secret room within the castle and taken a forbidden hex book. The hex magic was banned since it offered great rewards in exchange for high prices. The hex Bash used gave him control of the Salamandra while rotting away his mind, slowly deteriorating his ability to distinguish between what is real and what is not. Grand Barza wondered how his son could do something so stupid. Compared to Dario, he was exceptionally gifted with magic, yet acted so dumb. The comparison with Dario set him on edge. He viewed his father as a traitor after he saw Grand Barza acting like friends with humans through Salamandra's eyes. Bash summoned the Salamandra and flew off to kill Dario and destroy everything he loved. While searching through the mine, Dario met a most mysterious figure. The magical earth beast, Gigantomachia, appeared in the form of a stone face along the mine walls. He knew Dario was the reason why his old friend, Salamandra, spewed flames at him. He told Dario to present him with some mithril. Dario revealed his weapon. Gigantomachia was surprised at how exceptionally well-crafted the blade was. He used his control over mithril to unlock the blade's latent power. The magical beast tasked the honorable Dario with saving his old friend from its magical bindings. Dario and the knockers found the last miner and returned outside to their friends. Grand Barza communicated with Dario using a magical device. He told Dario what Bash was intent on doing. Bash heard through his puppet that Dario was mayor for Lux Village. His targets on this quest for revenge were clear as day. Anvil took charge of the village's evacuation. Dario and those who could fight stayed behind to face Bash and his beast. Malika's parting gift was special gauntlets along with her wedding ring. She wanted to keep a part of herself with him. She fled with their son, Gran. Bash arrived before the mayor and his companions. He greeted Dario with surprising friendliness. Bash conjured a wide range of annihilation magic fire orb to light up the sky. Alan recognized how powerful that made Bash. His power rivaled Grand Barza in his prime. Bash noticed Dario's ring. He decided that he'd torment Dario first by killing Malika and then burn his precious village to the ground. Dario wished to fulfill his promise to Grand Barza of protecting and helping Bash. Right now, words were not going to cut it. Dario attacked Bash, separating him from Salamandra. Dariel and Bash fought each other while Alan and the others fought the magic beast. Barza and Zebie returned and lent the former hero a hand. At first, Dariel thought Bash hated him for taking the mine. Bash made it clear that he had his own dream. He wanted to purge humanity and rule as the general of the transcendent Tempest, surpassing his father. The first step on that journey was killing Dariel. They both clashed. Dariel blocked Bash's powerful attacks until he was sent flying into the side of a cliff. Bash spoke of his year-long journey to attain all the power he wielded. Dariel couldn't help but praise the general's hard work and perseverance. To him, Bash was very earnest and impressive. Dariel only wished to help the general when he needed it. Bash's reaction to these words was conflicting. He ultimately decided to silence the words of the man he hated the most. Bash unleashed the magic he kept hidden for his battle with the hero. Salamandra's horns and tail grew out of his body. Satom erected a barrier to keep the salamander grounded. Alan and Barza shredded the magic beast with their attacks while Gashida and the others offered support. The mighty salamandra fell to their powerful attacks. Dariel and Bash clashed. When Bash tried using a vast magic spell, Dariel attacked with his full might to stop the attack from hurting his friends. Suffering that blow, Bash's transformation became more severe and beast-like. While clashing with Dariel, the hex linking the demon with the beast leaked memories into Dariel's head. Dariel saw the source of Bash's hatred. All Bash wanted growing up was to be like his father. The standards were high, but he always stepped up. One day, Barza brought in a boy. He saw that his father was very fond of him. He denied the title of brotherhood that Dariel tried to reach out with. He focused more and more on becoming the one his father favored the most. When he finally became nominated for the title of a general, he saw two things unfold. Bash's mother hated him for following in his father's footsteps, and his father's gift to him was the assistance of none other than Dariel, the man he competed with for his father's love. Dariel felt saddened by the memories he saw. Bash refused to be pitied. He could also see Dariel's thoughts and memories. Knowing that, Dariel decided to give him his side of the story. Bash always saw Dariel as a happy child, content with the love he stole for him. In truth, Dariel never felt like he belonged. Not being able to manifest magic added to that sense of isolation. He appreciated Barza's help to him, so he always kept a smile on his face, hiding away his real feelings. The day he met Bash was when he finally felt like he was part of the family. He saw Bash as his precious little brother. His desire to stand by and help him through everything was true. These emotions reached Bash. He lamented not taking that brotherly hand that was stretched out to him. The hex's effect began to wear off. The beastly armor that enveloped Bash crumbled away. Once again, Dariel stretched his hand out to Bash. Before Bash could reach him, the hex reactivated. The salamandra absorbed the powerful magic orb Bash had, lighting up the sky and revived itself with unbelievable power. Bash flew directly to it and activated a merging hex. He took control of the beast at the cost of being slowly consumed. He aimed to take the beast away before it exploded. Barza did not accept this. He intercepted the beast's flight and activated a hex to free his son. Dariel flew in on Zebie's magic and delivered his most powerful sky rend to fell the beast. For the first time in years, Barza was able to hold his son in his arms. They both cried it out. Malika had a feast ready to welcome her husband. She flew out as soon as she sensed him nearby. Unlike the usual spear, Dariel was greeted by a soft embrace. She still ended up crushing his bones right after. Bash returned to the Demon King, who now appeared like a young man. Bash apologized, ready to face the consequences of his actions. The Demon King gave him a choice: start over as a general or eternal damnation in a hellish prison. Bash chose the prison to atone for his unforgivable actions. The Demon King was disappointed. He wanted to snap him to hell after he chose to go back to being a general. Instead, he exiled Bash in the same fashion that Dariel was. Outside the meeting room was Gran and Bash's bird waiting. Together, they all visit the mayor's house at Lux Village. They were welcomed with open arms. Dariel introduced his little brother to Gran. Gran went to Bash's arms and spoke his first words ever. Gran said Bash's name. Malika made Bash an eye patch to cover the eye he lost due to hex magic. To celebrate such a beautiful moment, Dariel asked Gashida to paint them all together. This year's family portrait was full to the brim with Dariel's loved ones. The following day, Bash gathered his things and set out on a journey. He shook hands with his big brother and set out to see the world and help fix all the wrongs he committed. Dariel's life with his son and spine-shattering wife continued peacefully. The end.